Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President and Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain.
Doggy.
That's what we need to hear. How is everybody tonight?
Very good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. We just got. I don't know. It might be just time to go home since we just listened to Dolly Parton do the cover "Stairway to Heaven." I feel like I have received a message.
That's right. What else is there to say?
What else is exactly? There's always room to. There's always time to change the road you're on.
That's right.
It's like change your mind again, start again. We heard all of that again. But I hear on the grapevine that this is an anniversary for you, Jacquelyn.
Oh, did you hear that? Not quite yet. Tomorrow maybe? Is it tomorrow?
That's
tomorrow.
close. That's close enough. Right? It's tomorrow in Australia.
Well, there you go. In Australia, I've been president of Awakening Together for 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We all appreciate that and are going to offer our heartfelt gratitude for you, and may this rolling experience only ever uplift you and never burden you or slow you down.
Aw, how sweet is that? Did somebody get that on tape?
Yes, it's on tape.
Good.
I did manage to hit the recording this time, which has not happened in the past, as we know. What do we do in this hour, Jacquelyn?
In this particular hour, what we do is we read from A Course in Miracles Manual for Teachers, and then we dissect it sometimes.
Yeah.
What you want to know what we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
What we're supposed to do is really look closely at it and see how it's relevant in our everyday experience. That's really what we're doing.
Yeah, because this is a manual for teachers of A Course in Miracles. And if you read the Course in Miracles, she starts the book out by saying, "This is A Course in Miracles." She lays it down. And this is the manual to how to work with the book and how to work with the world. And this is this is one of those we're about halfway through this again, so it bears repeating. But this is how she the manual for teachers is very often my go-to when someone says, "What's the Course in Miracles?" I don't send them usually directly to the lessons or to the text. I send them directly to the manual for teachers instead, because I think it's a wonderful entry point. I think, but we're on chapter. Are we on 21?
22.
22. Okay.
22.
Yes, chapter 22. What's the question today?
The question is, how are healing and atonement related? Let me warn you that once again, she's asked a trick question.
We're going to barely talk about that. we're gonna talk to the point of view that would ask that question. You know.
Well, I'm really interested to hear your take on this. I can tell you that I got some help with this one. I read something that I will I'll be sharing in a little bit that really put this in perspective for me, because I can tell you I read it and I went, oh, that's wrong. Not arrogant or anything, you know.
I know. Well,
but I needed help with the perspective, so so I'm really excited to hear your perspective on this teaching, and everyone else's perspective here, because it's a little different. It's said so differently than the way we teach this concept in Awakening Together.
Yes. That
for me it was off-putting.
I get that. I really do. So just as the way things work, I'm teaching for this week, and you'll hear this on Sunday. But the corresponding lesson in the trajectory of the reading of Course in Miracles in a year is it lands for this week on the body as a learning device and what is sickness. Mm-hmm. So just to let you know what my whole week has been around. So I have a lot of empathy for you, like saying, okay, I got to wrap my head around it, come some kind of new perspective to understand where she's coming, what she's talking to, and where she's coming from. You know, yeah. So I did. I sat with it. This is the in that chapter. So it's I'm doing the body as means versus in chapter 8, section 8 this week.
See, that I get. You know, you have to read that. That I get.
Okay, so if you can put that understanding, you know, I won't teach you, but you know, this is this is where the Holy Spirit put these two things like right at each other for me in the same week, teaching these same basic concepts, and I got a really beautiful perspective. So I came at the I'm saying all this to say I came at the manual for teachers with a cheater head start. I was already running because I had already outlined and taught
Good.
So I was maybe got a little bit of head start on the attitude. But I tell you what I did not do. I did not remember whose turn it is to read.
Right. Yeah, John says me. So okay. All right, and this is a little bit longer than usual.
Seven paragraphs.
I don't know. Mine aren't numbered, so I'm reading from
9.
Sparkly. So. All right, and all right, so I'm going to read it, and then you're going to tell us what it means.
I'm going to give you one version of it. We're going to come out of the same thing, but I have a feeling I'm going to go through the woods and up a mountain, and you're going to get on a bird and fly right there. But that's
we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so here we go. So we again, this is section 22 or chapter 22 of the manual for A Course in Miracles. Question is, how are healing and atonement related? Healing and atonement are not related. They are identical.
And we're,
I really appreciate her sense of humor more and more all the time.
Yeah,
dry sense of humor is right in that first answer. Yeah. So, okay. So again, healing and atonement are not related. They're identical. There is no order of difficulty in miracles because there are no degrees of atonement. It is the one complete concept possible in this world because it is the source of a wholly unified perception. Partial atonement is a meaningless idea, just as special areas of hell in heaven is inconceivable. Accept atonement and you are healed. Atonement is the word of God. Accept his word and what remains to make sickness possible. Accept his word and every miracle has been accomplished. To forgive is to heal. which for me is the clearest sentence in this whole reading. Yes, to forgive is to heal. The teacher of God has taken accepting the atonement for himself as his only function. What is there then that he cannot heal? What miracle can be withheld from him? The progress of the teacher of God may be slow or rapid, depending on whether he recognizes the atonement's inclusiveness or, for a time, excludes some problem areas from it. In some cases, there is a sudden and complete awareness of the perfect applicability of the lesson of the atonement to all situations. This, however, is comparatively rare. The teacher of God may have accepted the function God has given him long before he has learned all that his acceptance holds out to him. It is only the end that is certain. Anywhere along the way, the necessary realization of inclusiveness may reach him. If the way seems long, let him be content. He has decided on the direction he will take. What more was asked of him? And having done what was required, would God withhold the rest? That forgiveness is healing needs to be understood if the teacher of God is to make progress. The idea that a body can be sick is a central concept in the ego's thought system. This thought gives the body autonomy, separates it from the mind, and keeps the idea of attack inviolate. If the body could be sick, atonement would be impossible. A body that can order a mind to do as it sees fit would merely take the place of God and prove salvation is impossible. What then is left to heal? The body has become Lord of the mind. How could the mind be returned to the Holy Spirit unless the body is killed? And who would want salvation at such a price? Certainly, sickness does not appear to be a decision, nor would anyone actually believe he wants to be sick. Perhaps he can accept the idea in theory, but it is rarely, if ever, consistently applied to all specific forms of sickness, both in the individual's perception of himself and of others as well. Nor is it at this level that the teacher of God calls forth the miracle of healing. Nor is it at this level that the teacher of God calls forth the miracle of healing. He overlooks the mind and body, seeing only the face of Christ shining in front of him, correcting all mistakes and healing all perception. Healing is the result of the recognition by God's teacher of who it is that is in need of healing. This recognition has no special reference. It is true of all things that God created. In it are all illusions healed. When a teacher of God fails to heal, it is because he has forgotten who he is. Another sickness thus becomes his own. In allowing this to happen, he has identified with another's ego and has thus confused him with the body. In so doing, he has refused to accept the atonement for himself and can hardly offer it to his brother in Christ's name. He will, in fact, be unable to recognize his brother at all, for his father did not create bodies, and so he is seeing in his brother only the unreal. Mistakes do not correct mistakes, and distorted perception does not heal. Step back now, teacher of God. You have been wrong. Lead not the way, for you have lost it. Turn quickly to your teacher and let yourself be healed. The offer of atonement is universal. It is equally applicable to all individuals in all circumstances. And in it is the power to heal all individuals of all forms of sickness. Not to believe this is to be unfair to God and thus unfaithful to him. A sick person perceives himself as separate from God. Would you see him as separate from you? It is your task to heal the sense of separation that has made him sick. It is your function to recognize for him that what he believes about himself is not the truth. It is your forgiveness that must show him this. Healing is very simple. Atonement is received and offered. Having been received, it must be accepted. It is in the receiving, then, that healing lies. All else must follow from this single purpose. Who can limit the power of God himself? Who then can say who can be healed of what and what must remain beyond God's power to forgive? I'm going to reread that since I butchered it. Who then can say who can be healed of what and what must remain beyond God's power to forgive? This is insanity indeed. It is not up to God's teachers to set limits upon him, because it is not up to them to judge his son. And to judge his son is to limit his father. Both are equally meaningless. Yet this will not be understood until God's teacher recognizes that they are the same mistake. Herein does he receive atonement, for he withdraws his judgment from the Son of God, accepting him as God created him. No longer does he stand apart from God, determining where healing should be given and where it should be withheld. Now can he say with God, "This is my beloved Son, created perfect and forever so."
You know, yeah. So next time somebody asks me what I think of somebody else,
You say, "I think he's perfect."
I think he's the perfect child. I think he's the perfect child of God that God created. You know, and he gets to appear. She gets to appear. They get to appear any way that they want to. You know, any way that they want to. And I'm, you know, it's all this in the final and seventh paragraph of a chapter about healing and atonement being the same thing. So let's take a look at this. It's I like this a lot. How is healing and atonement related? She says they're not, you know, but she talks about this as a holy. What I want to pull out of this is she begins by saying a wholly unified perception.
Yeah.
So, I am seeing. I have all the factors online. You know, a wholly unified perception. You know, that's where she begins, and she goes. So if it's a wholly unified perception, then healing in the atonement, healing in oneness, healing in reality, healing would be the recognition of reality. Your forgiveness would be the tool to do that. She makes it pretty clear. Accept the atonement and you are healed, of course. Because it's a change of our mind about our status, about who we are. You know, accept the atonement for the, you know, accept the voice of oneness is what I was. Accept this prayer of the heart. You remember that from last week, this prayer of the heart. Sickness is the voice of separation. So thinking about it in those ways, the action that she asks us to take with unified perception is to heal myself and heal the world.
Yes.
You know, so, but you know, so the world is an extension, my recognition that I'm already healed, and then the world will tell me that, and the atonement is my only function, and so healing is my only function. You can say, so it's like, to change my perception, I'm working with with actually method for finding the blocks to my awareness of the presence of love, which is my inheritance. I'm supposed to get it. Supposed to have this understanding. So she goes on and she gives you the speed of awakening. Did you get that in the second paragraph? She gives you the speed of awakening.
I loved that. I thought it was very, very gentle, very sweet.
Yeah. Recognition of the atonement's inclusiveness. You know, you can rarely apply these ideas to everything. You know, I heard the introduction in this. Can you apply the exercises where you apply these ideas to include everything? You know, and that can be a tall task. She's absolutely right. And the acceptance of all. And she gives us some assurances. She goes, "Don't worry, child. Don't worry, my child." She goes, "You are getting the message. So you don't worry that you're not getting the message. You are getting the message. The goal is certain. You're going to get there. Everything is going to be okay. You know, so it's okay. If it doesn't feel that way now, the goal is certain. You're getting the message. Your job is to just keep turning toward the light. Your job is to keep the direction. Your job is to keep getting on the path to the direction. That's really all you have to do, because you'll just get swept along, because this is reality. You know, you have to work at not being in reality. So she gives you the tool, and she talks about forgiveness being the ability to heal all illusions. So heal the things that I get wrong. Heal my own trauma that makes me see, like be frightened of big dogs or whatever it is, to be able to see correctly, to heal my illusions. And healing as forgiveness, being I was wrong. I want this to be right. I want to see correctly, because that helps me do what I need to do. That helps me reach my goal. And so she reminds us, this is back to chapter 8, so as I was doing it, he goes, there's a temptation to just turn your body back into a sword. To use your body as an attack and use sickness as an attack. There's a real thing and proof that you're small and little and broken. There's a real temptation to do that. But if the body could be sick, the atonement wouldn't be possible because we're not bodies. She goes, oh, that's not the paradigm that you live in. You're observing the paradigm and interacting with the paradigm, but you're not in the paradigm, of that material, this and that and up and down. And, you're not in that paradigm, although you can describe it. And so she says that because this idea of sickness is the temptation to let your body be the ruler. Isn't that interesting? To let the body dictate who you're going to be, how you're going to operate, what's going to happen, and everything. I just think that's really kind of interesting, especially being a somewhat of a performer married to a transfemme queer, in the queer community, and I think drag is an art form, and a lot of in performance, and we have a lot of performance. For instance, this idea of changing your body and changing into another person, and for effect and things like that, is something that I think she's asking us to take on and off and realize that it's absolutely under our own volition. We're doing it whether consciously or not. We're actually doing it kind of on purpose, or whether we're doing it on purpose, whether it's conscious or not. I'm probably not saying that correctly, but that's kind of, I think you get where I'm going with there. And so and she gives us the remedy for it. She says, see only the face of Christ. See only being. See, the remedy is to see only what is being for it there. So you can overlook the mind and the body. And if you can do that, she goes, well, then who really does need healing? Now you're one again, and now everybody. Now you can now you're healing. Now you're Now you're doing the healing thing. You're on the other side of this thing, and the promise there is that all illusions will be healed. That's huge to me. To be able to that unified whole that unified field of vision, the unified perspective. That's huge to be able to do any of that. So as she winds this up, she again asks us to begin to to use our tools to know what is real and what is not real, because one is healing and one is the failure to heal. So is this delivering? Is this material, the voice of materialism, really delivering on that promise to make everything better and to shore up everything and to get rid of the scars? And is it really giving delivering on those promises? And if we can look with discernment, we will be able to easily say that the idea is no. So the failure of healing is this forgetting of our oneness, this identification with the magical thoughts and the material world, and it causes us not even to be able to recognize the beingness of another person. It almost is like stealing reality from us. Mm-hmm. We're now asleep again. We now don't know what's going on. We're just seeing a material world. We're identifying as a body, which means we're living in the voice for decay. We're living in the voice for change and decay and loss, which is depressing, You catch yourself when you do that. And she says, she says, if you can, from the last paragraph, see the face of Christ, you can remember to do that being thing. And she says, step back. When I lose faith in this, practice this when I place faith in things. This is what I wrote in my notes. Practice this when I place my faith in things. And I wrote, step back, quickly turn inward to the inner teacher, and she says something not very intuitive to me. And let yourself be healed. It's not something that I'm doing. It's something that I let go of not happening already. She points at it's your resistance doing it, not it's the resistance of not experiencing it or not doing it if you'll listen to the teacher and you will let yourself be healed. So then it winds up with receiving the healing as the universal atonement. It's acceptable to all. She just says this is completely ethical, completely is satisfactory. She winds up and she says the wholly unified, this is what I wrote down at the very end, the wholly unified perception. Awakening moves at the speed of our integration of the whole. This resistance of our urge to transform ourselves back into form, back into a sword, when the belief in magic becomes strong, conjure the face of creation. And we can locate that face in all beings, to step back, look within, and listen to inner guidance, to withdraw judgment of the world as me being good at it. And the wholly unified perception tells me that healing is atonement and it is forgiveness. And my task is to heal the sense of separation. Because I don't have to heal separation, because separation isn't broken.
That's right.
Separation doesn't have, carbuncles on it. So it doesn't need to be healed. So my task is to heal my sense of separation.
Yes.
That has made the sickness, and to be the presence of what isn't sick. Being. The being.
Right.
When you encounter Glen Morton Ganaway, you encounter the being. Why not? So I just thought it was like, oh yeah, I don't want to look at like anybody like they're sick and broken and need my help and that they're little and pathetic and I don't care what's whether I don't care what the situation is. That's never, I don't know.
Never helpful.
No, I really don't think so. Because doctors don't do that when they greet you and you're in all kinds of pain. They aren't going, oh, they don't join you in the wailing. They like ask you.
Oh my God, you look terrible.
What's going on? Oh my God. Yeah, right. I
don't think we're gonna be able to help you.
No, I go. So you're so screwed. I don't think you understand how screwed you are. I hope you have a fortune.
I was graduating in the bottom of my med class, right?
Yeah. You don't have to call a doctor who graduated to the last of his class.
Doctor.
Lawyer too, and all that is whatever it is that you're doing. It's not picking on doctors. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are. Just for the fun of it, though. Listen, let me say how. I know you don't need me to be impressed, but how impressed I am with your teaching of this of this chapter. It's absolutely. Yeah, I'm just. I'm very impressed. I said
Thank
that.
you.
Let me see if I can go on from there. Because you got right to the heart of it. You got right to, and again, I said that the truest sentence in there for me was to forgive is to heal. And forgiveness is the recognition of oneness. So that's what this is really about. This sounds like this is about healing the body, and it's not about that. This is not about that at all. And you cut right to the heart of it, and I thank you for that. I thought your teaching was just gorgeous.
Thanks.
I like how she talks. She says, if the way seems long, let him be content. He has decided on the direction he will take. What more was asked of him? And having done what was required, would God withhold the rest? A couple things come to me. First of all, obviously, she's talking about the decision to heal. That initial change of mind, there has to be something different than this, which takes me back to the question in, chapter 1, who are God's teachers, or section 1, who are God's teachers? A teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. His qualifications consist solely in this: somehow, somewhere, he's made a deliberate choice in which he did not see his interest as apart from someone else's. Once he has done that, his road is established and his direction is sure. There's just no going back. You all have heard me make the joke before. I'm quite fond of. It's like joining the mob. Once you get in, you can't get out.
Because nothing else satisfies. It just doesn't satisfy. It just doesn't satisfy.
It doesn't. But what you've done is you've set it. Even if you went, oh, I've changed my mind and I want to go party all day and all night, you still can't get out. No. You have set that process you have set the healing process in motion. And so, you may drag your feet, you may, spend more nights partying than you do mornings meditating, but, the decision's already been made.
Yep.
And she makes that very, very clear here. So there's really no turning back. The point that well, first of all, I like how she says you can't be a little bit pregnant, right? You can't partially accept the atonement. So where we're headed, if you can even say that, you got to believe in space and time in order to say where we're headed. Yeah.
She said direction.
But it's complete forgiveness. Complete forgiveness, perfectly applied across the board. It's like somewhere in here, in the Course, it says, you're either going to believe this completely or not at all. Those are really the only two choices, right? You're either aligned with the intention of oneness, or you're stuck in the sense, as you pointed out, the sense of separation. Those are really the only two choices. You can't do it part way. Even if you think you're doing it, you're not. The choice has been made. That's where we're going. Let's see. I love that you said if the body could be sick, atonement would be impossible because you're not a body. You said this, and absolutely, that's the point being made. If the body could be sick, atonement would be impossible because you are not a body. And then I just loved it because I hadn't seen it, Glenn, that the temptation is to let the body, I love how you put it in terms of temptation. The temptation is to let the body be the ruler. Yeah. The temptation is to slip back into the confusion. That the body, that anything here is real. And it occurs to me, I don't know, something you said early on, something that got said here, is that really this whole chapter is reiterating, our namesake for this program. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Yeah. So I loved how you set it out. I love that you called the face of Christ, seeing only the face of Christ as seeing only being. I mean, that's just perfect. It's just perfect. Let me see. Can I share with you this little, it's like 3 paragraphs?
Yeah. That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know the guy. His name sounds relatively familiar, but I read it and went, that's what it's saying. So let me read it to you. Let me see if I can... Yes, because I don't want to lose you all. Okay, it's Sean Reagan. Do you know his name?
Regan, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's Sean Regan.
Okay, very good. So I just want to read you a few paragraphs out of what he had to say. Not about this particular section, but about physical healing in A Course in Miracles. Okay. He says, the real goal of A Course in Miracles is to restore cause and effect to its rightful place. Cause lies in the mind, and the physical world, from our bodies to other bodies, to the weather, to the sea, to the distant stars, are merely effects that witness to what is happening in the mind. As our mind heals, which is to say, as it accepts its responsibility as a decision maker that is choosing to think either with or against God or love, the real fruit is inner peace. That might show up as a miraculous deliverance from a fatal cancer diagnosis, but it might also show up as the grace to simply accept the cancer because the cancer is not real. So there's nothing to get worked up about. There's never anything to get worked up about. We can't fake this insight, he says. Most of us think of miracles in terms of what we can get materially. That's what we do. But A Course in Miracles slowly and surely redirects our thinking, aligning it with something closer to truth or reality. At that level, sickness is impossible, regardless of what appears to be happening in the world. We heal by realizing this. We heal by realizing that at that level, there is no sickness or harm. In other words, we lose our attachment to the symbols of hate and guilt that show up in the world. We lose our attachment to the symbols of hate and guilt that show up in the world. Whatever shows up is okay. It can't shake our inner peace because our inner peace is not caused by what is external. It is reflected there for learning purposes, but reflections are not causative. And I just, which is all the stuff that you just said.
Beautiful. But it's what's the idea? What Regina does is the circle is the realize, experience, project.
What I think I see, okay, I see, I experience, what I experience, I think. Yeah. That's it. Loop of experience, I think she calls it. Yeah.
The loop of experience. So let me let me see let me read you the first paragraph to chapter 8 because this is
okay.
Interesting. It's like so. In the journey back, section 8, the body is the means for ends. Attitudes toward the body are attitudes toward attack. To go to the ego, the body is to attack with. Equating you with the body, it teaches that you are to attack with. The body, then, is not the source of its own health. The body's condition lies solely in your interpretation of its function. Functions are part of being, since they arise from it. But the relationship is not reciprocal. The whole does not define the part. The whole does define the part, but the part does not define the whole. Get to know in part is to know entirely because of the fundamental difference between knowledge and perception. In perception, the whole is built up of parts that could separate and reassemble in different constellations, but knowledge never changes. So its constellation is permanent. The idea of a part-whole relationship has meaning only at the level of perception, where change is possible. Otherwise, there is no difference between the part and the whole. This constellation, like a constellation of Yolanda, or a constellation of an ecosystem, or a constellation of our friendships, are great, but the knowledge and love, the realness is there, never doesn't change. But I can construe, like my body is mostly made of chicken, eggs, and cheese, which Yolanda will tell you. Yolanda's body is made mostly of kale and cashews and lentils, and flaxseed, So the constellation, she is arranging these things that create. She's arranging what she does to create Yolanda, but I choose different things, and am creating this with Glen of it. They're different constellations, but our love is one thing. That their love is this knowledge, this constellation of knowledge that supersedes like this idea of being. So I can see the being better because of this, this idea of parts and wholes, and the constellation of material, the different constellations of material existence as they rise and fall in different configurations. I just thought that was very, very Buddhist of her.
Yeah, there's very actually when you talked about the parts and the whole, what I heard echoing here was what is it? It's the Corinthians verse they do at weddings. 1 Corinthians, what is it?
Chapter 13, the one on love.
13 is the one on love, because at the end of that, the author says, "When I was a child, I spake I spake as a child, and now I've put away childish things. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 13. Very good. That's it exactly. But he also talks there about seeing in part. I don't know what the exact words are. Maybe I ought to get it out. But there was a time when I saw in part, and now I see the whole.
Oh,
There's something like that there at the end of that.
Yeah. It's like, to me, it is like seeing how everything is connected. I mean, not necessarily seeing exactly how everything connected, but seeing the connection and, the network or sort of matrix. I mean, these are good. These are pretty good words, you know. But to see the connection and not the part is I think,
and not the part. And seeing the part is seeing through the perception of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a sense that we should ask other folks what they think about that.
I think so too. What is I'd love to know how y'all experienced that reading. Now 3 readings that we did about sickness and the body and your relationship with it, and and how this oneness plays out in connection for you. I'd love to hear it. Kathy?
I'd love to hear from Yolanda. Why? Because I had this call that I tried not to take, but it kept calling. So I was like, okay, I gotta go take the call. And that way, if I listen to what Yolanda says, I'll have some idea. Sorry.
Okay. So,
right.
So Yolanda, would you like to
want to share, Yolanda?
Well, actually, I was looking at 1 Corinthians 13 because it is one of my favorite things in the world, and I love that you compared the lesson to that paragraph at the end. In this translation that I'm looking at right now, it says, "We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist, but it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then, see it all as clearly as God sees us, knowing him directly just as he knows us." I don't know, that I liked that translation, and I just felt like that intertwined with it, I was
For looking that up, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been thinking of this idea of sickness because, I mean, we were talking about it last night, but how it's so hard to separate. Our enculturation is so strong about sickness in our body, and that's so hard to understand sometimes how A Course in Miracles talks about it as separation, and how forgiveness is the healing element, the atonement is the healing element, and I'm just now in my life beginning to shift into that awareness. We actually have several friends in our group on Wednesday night, a couple of friends that are going through really difficult body issues, and I was also asking you last week, Jacquelyn, about praying for someone who is quote unquote sick, and I've begun to really take the stance, to really sort this out, that they are not sick, and that their body is a learning device that is experiencing this particular thing. And that was really helpful. And so as we were talking about this tonight, I just kept coming to me that, that this is the truth. I mean, that this is the truth. And somehow that comforts me. It's hard though, to share that with people. So, I get asked to pray for people, all the time. And so I'm really wrestling with how to honestly do that, and So that's what I'm working with tonight as we're talking about this.
It occurs to me to say that there are, I mean, it's not like you can pick up a book and read when somebody asks you to pray, but there are some beautiful prayers in NTI that that you could carry the essence of those with you, and yeah, that might be helpful in those situations. That's what comes.
Jumping
Kathy,
in.
yes.
Okay, I just again, I apologize because I didn't catch the whole exchange, but I really, feel like this is the order of the day, and if there's one thing that really to me is the foundation of the Awakening Together community, and the core values and the principles, and the one that we often refer to is the whole part about just accepting appearances. And what you said, Yolanda, that just to me was just like, yeah, that's it. The recognition of your friend and seeing that this experience, whatever they're experiencing with the body, is their learning device. And that piece itself just says, wow, what a way to look at an appearance and not buy into it, at the same time be wholly there and supportive. That just is like, thank you. That just captured it. And then for me, it's not so much the personal bodily concern. It's not to say I'm free of that, but it's more like believing the world appearances and really struggling with that and saying, okay, well, yeah, they're talking about sickness, but what about, injuries from, bombs being dropped on you, and just really, again, seeing what's the larger picture here. What are we being called to over and over again? What's the calling here? And yeah, to see that it's the call for love. And I don't know if it's the little Buddha or whatever. There's some clip somewhere from, I think it was I think probably Gentle Healing Year 2. I know I did that twice, so it's probably what it is, but where the Buddha is standing there in this film clip, and the Maya is just throwing all these visions, trying to, be a beautiful woman to entice them, and then, or to, all these environmental disturbance, everything that he is thrown at him, and he just stands there in peace the whole time, and doesn't, move 1 inch in responding to these appearances rising, and that challenge of how do I walk that way of love and just at the same time all the feelings that come up, and yeah, for sure I get angry about what's going on I do. I mean, I'm gonna pretend I'm not angry, when I hear another, like a maternity hospital being bombed, or kindergartens and whatnot. But anyway, I think that what you shared, Yolanda, really kind of serves as a light. This is just there for our healing. Whatever it's appearing as, it can only be for good, right? All things for good. So I'm gonna wait to hear from Shauna now.
Shauna, you've been called on.
Oh wow! It seems Kathy is our caller. That's
right.
Great.
Works for me.
Works for me.
I've been called out.
Oh.
First, I just want to say, Glenn, I think that's the clearest teaching that landed clear for me. I mean, that was just awesome. I kept going, yeah. So thank you. That was awesome. And for me, this just all boils down to it is your task to heal the sense of separation. Yes. And that's what you said also, Glenn.
Yeah,
have you ever suffered any prolonged illness, Shauna? Any like prolonged injuries or anything like that?
No, I'm more injury prone, so I have had some broken bones. But
I would imagine with horses you would have had some major injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, a few broken bones, broken cheek, broken tailbone, broken wrist.
Ow.
Yeah. Broken tailbone. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Cheek. Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've all had, I mean, and there's no joke in like telling somebody that is hurt with a broken pelvis. It's like, none of this is real. Right?
Thanks a lot. My ass still hurts. Right?
That's not what, that we're like, she says in many other places, you do not contradict somebody when they tell you what's going on. You say, this is what, okay, I need pain relief, I need a thing, I need help, I need what's going on. Okay, let's get you, taking care. I know it's not wrong, so I can give it to you. I know this is what's going on, so I have no trouble giving it to you. So don't ever fight. It's like there's a temptation to like say, but if you just could be a more spiritual person, you wouldn't be in such pain.
Yeah. That's not helpful.
Let's not do that. So it's like I want to. It's easy. It's just like this tipping thing.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to. But what Kathy and Shauna said. Kathy said, it was the question is, what are we being called to? And said that we were being called to love. And Shauna said, not in these exact words, I'm getting ready to misquote you when I say that. But Shauna said, we're being called. She said, it's our task, your task, to heal the sense of separation. So that's the call, and that's what Kathy called love, right? And then Kathy talked about how easy it is to hate Putin. Again, I'm misquoting. She talked about being angry when a maternity hospital, for example, was bombed. And it occurred to me when Kathy was speaking that, the importance of Regina's iteration of the teaching, it's trying to slip away from me. So that's why I've got my eyes closed and I'm just talking so slowly, of the code, so the decision has to be, do I want to feed this sense of separation back into the one mind, to the collective consciousness? Again, easy to say. I'm not saying that I don't see pregnant women, dead pregnant women and their babies as upsetting. So, there's no, I just want to draw us back to how this comes full circle.
Yes.
Because if it is our task to love, if it is our task to heal the sense of separation, we have to realize that the only way we could, the only way we could, for example, be upset with Putin is if we saw him as separate from ourselves. Mm-hmm. So as we're hating on Putin or hating on the guy downstairs playing loud music or whatever, and hating it, I'm using that a little bit colloquially, but if that's what we're doing, we're actually participating in the opposite of what we've identified our task as. Our task is to heal the sense of separation. You know, I don't hate my hand even if I slice it open or if it's itching or it really bothers. You know, I mean, I don't. And again, hate's my word and a strong word, but you know, I'm not mad at it. I'm like, sometimes I feel betrayed by my body, by the way. It's like, come on, work. But I rarely get mad at it. I don't get mad at it because it's because it doesn't feel like it's something coming in and, you know, attacking me. It doesn't feel like something separate from me. And so you can see how if you would have to make someone separate in order to condemn them. Yeah. You just do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know.
Thank you.
You can see the actions of a belief in separation. It's like
that's it. That's it. And there's one mind. So whose mind is it? Well, it's mine. It's the true me. It's not this little brain here. But there's one mind. That's just how it's appearing. And that of course is why we practice the loving all method. Right? This is what is. This is what's occurring now. This is the outpicturing of what's occurring within consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And she says, you're getting the message. You know, don't worry. You're getting the message. You can do this. Your only job is to keep turning toward the light. Keep changing for the direction.
Yes.
To keep, when you don't know, do the inward search. Go, oh my God, I'm upset. I know I've been wrong. How many times is the method is this method taught in A Course in Miracles? Hundreds and hundreds of times. When you're upset, you're wrong. Go within and get a better
and ask for clear perception.
Ask for
for true perception. The Holy Spirit's vision, the eyes of Christ. And I just want to say that, Kathy, it just occurred to me, and I don't know where it is in Regina's classic teachings. She talks about being at peace with war. There's some imagery of, I don't know, like a child laying in the middle of a battlefield or something. Maybe I'll think on that and see if I can come up with it, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But it's really helpful because you really get to, it's kind of the, it's where we started. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
And that's discernment. And it doesn't always feel that way to let go of something that I've had my identity in things that do not exist. So it feels like when I let go of something that does not exist, it feels like I'm being attacked. Even though, I mean, I know it's, my good and I'm doing it, it still feels, I have this sense of, being attacked. And like...
And frankly, this seems like extreme application.
Yep.
Oh, you mean it's okay that Putin? I mean, really? I mean, this is what we're all struggling with. Those of us in the spiritual community these days is like, wait a minute, now how do I apply this to this really extreme situation?
Yeah,
but I think that's still the task. I think that's still the call.
It is, but they're saying if you're seeing the fruit of this action, it was planted long, long ago. So in time to do something about it, it gets harder and harder the larger you let it get, and the more fruit that it flowers, it becomes harder and harder to kill, like anything else in the world. But speaking of killing,
Kathy wants to respond. We got a minute for Kathy to respond.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I just can't let that one go by because really, there's no order of difficulty in miracles.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how big we let it get. It's no harder than, forgiving somebody who, makes you trip or something.
That's true.
Yeah.
True. So.
Yeah, this is what we are doing as a collective togetherness. What we out picture is the collective togetherness. Exactly right. So here we go. Let's take this out, shall we?
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain.
All right, that's the class. We love you. Thanks for your practice.
It was awesome. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Night, night, all. We'll see you on Sunday.
Thanks, Shauna.
Thanks all for being here. Much love.